Chapter 8. Harold X. Private Eye. I awakened to the sound of cloth being torn. From the low growls that followed, I surmised that a game of Rip the Rag was in progress. Slowly I opened my eyes and stared out into the bright sunlight. At last the storm had passed, and from the sight of animals at play before me, it appeared that all was well with the world. Max, Georgette, and Taxi tugged at what looked like an old towel. Heather sat sunning herself, while Howard dug at the earth in a far corner of the compound. Lyle was wrapped around a ball of some kind, kicking at it with his hind feet. The scene was so inviting that for one brief moment, I wanted to run outside and join in the play. And then I remembered Chester. My heart sank. And the thought occurred to me, someone out there, some seemingly innocent frolicker, was really a cold-blooded killer. How could I play with a murderer, I asked myself. And who could it be? Who could it be? I cast my eye over each in turn. Georgette let go of the towel and, merrily darting back and forth, nipped at Max's ankles. Sure, I thought, she has reason to be happy. With Louise out of the picture, she's got Max all to herself now. He didn't seem so miserable either, I noticed. How quickly his grief had spent itself. Well, why not? After all, if he had bumped Louise off, no one but Chester knew. A little poison in Chester's food, and there was no more need to pretend. Soon he and Georgette would run away together. Everything was going according to plan. Why shouldn't he be happy? And Taxi? I watched as he collided with Max's shoulder. He fell back into the grass and rolled around, scratching his back. Max ran off with the rag, waving it in the air. Suddenly, Taxi lurched to his feet, and picking up the challenge, grabbed one end of the rag from Max. They tugged it in opposite directions. How pleased Taxi must be, I thought, if he were the culprit. After all, he wanted so badly to impress Max, to be his best friend. And now it appeared he had given Max everything he could ask for, and more. And in return, he'd gotten everything he wanted too. It was not easy to forget Taxi's interest in murder by poison. How excited he'd been when he first mentioned it to Max and me. No, he might appear on the surface to be a little dumb, but Taxi was no dumb dog. The sound of scratching drew my eyes to Howard. What was he doing, anyway? He seemed to be digging a hole, to bury a bone, I thought, or perhaps something else. He kept looking furtively over his shoulder, as if he were afraid of being caught. My glance fell on Heather. How strange the two of them were. Perhaps Chester had been right. Maybe they were werewolves. I vowed to keep my eye on them. Suddenly, Lyle sprang up and attacked a leaf that had happened to blow by in the passing breeze. "Gotcha, you little devil!" he cried. "You thought you could escape the long arm of the law, eh? Well, take that, and that!" And he bludgeoned the poor leaf into a fine powder. He was an oddball, no question about it. I remembered his threat to Louise, and then his words from the night before popped into my head. "Let's string him up," he had exclaimed as he ran off. Lyle was just crazy enough, I concluded, to carry out his threats. Murder would be as natural to him as playing with a ball of yarn was to most cats. Just then, the door to the office opened, and Harrison stepped outside, coming in my direction. "Hey, Harold," he called out cheerily. "It's about time you were up. You going to sleep all day?" "Woof," I answered. "Oh, yeah? What kind of thing is that to say?" Frankly, I wasn't sure myself what I meant by it. He opened my door. "Come on," he said. "It's almost time for dinner. How about getting a little exercise?" Leaving my bungalow, I observed Harrison out of the corner of my eye. He was whistling now. His cheeks were puffed out and red from the force with which he blew the melody, such as it was, through his lips. Gee, he seems happy, I thought. There was a twinkle in his eye as he patted my head and said, "Good boy, Harold." From anybody else, such good cheer would have been normal behavior. From Harrison, it was definitely suspect. What if he's the one, I thought? Maybe he's in cahoots with Dr. Greenbrier, as Chester once suspected. Maybe they're doing some kind of awful experiment in their laboratory, and... A shudder went through me as I thought of poor Louise and Chester in the laboratory of a mad doctor. I didn't let myself think about it any longer. Harrison went back inside, and I surveyed the scene before me. Georgette and Max had gone off by themselves, and Taxi was rolling on the ground, playing alone with the remains of the towel. It was at that moment I decided to take matters into my own paws. I remembered something Chester had once said to me when I had refused to go along with him to investigate another of his little hunches. I'd promised him I'd stay home and think about it. Sure, he said. You may think about it, Harold, but I'm the one who will do something about it. What do you mean by that? I asked. Cats are doers, dogs are not. That's what I mean. I think you may be overstating your case. Think what you will, he said as he walked away. The fact is that I am the one who's trying to do something, while you, oh passive pooch, wrap yourself around your food dish and do nothing. Once more I felt the sting of Chester's accusation. Do nothing, I thought. I'll show him he's not the only one with a brain. And so, with gritted teeth and a sense of determination, I set out to unearth the truth. I decided to start with Taxi, and I figured I'd catch him off guard with a direct assault. What do you know, Taxi? I queried. Taxi looked at me blankly. Perhaps that had been the wrong approach. I tried again. How are you, Taxi? Oh, hello, Harold, Taxi said, as if seeing me for the first time. Some storm we've been having, eh? I asked him. Oh, I'm all right, I guess. What? Fine, thanks. There was a long pause as Taxi and I looked at each other. You asked how I am, and I'm telling you I'm fine. Oh, yes, I see you. How are you? I'm okay, I guess. You're welcome. Huh? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were going to say thank you. For what? For asking how you are. Oh, I said. I'm sorry. That's all right. Thank you. You're welcome. I looked at Taxi a long time. Suddenly I couldn't remember what I had wanted to ask him or why. Knowing Taxi, I decided, was definitely one of life's more confusing experiences. You're probably wondering how I got the name Taxi, Taxi mumbled so softly that at first I thought he was talking to himself. Well, no, I wasn't really. Then I'll tell you, Harold. Thank you, I said, wondering when the dinner bell would ring. You see, I was known by these people in New York City who thought that when they took me out for a walk, it would be cute to call Taxi. People who live in New York think things like that are cute. It's the air pollution that does it to them, I think. Anyway, for a long time, whenever they called Taxi, I thought they were really calling a taxi, so I wouldn't come. And the taxi drivers thought they were calling a taxi too, so they'd pull up. So all the time, they were getting all these taxis they didn't want, and taxi drivers were getting mad at them, and meanwhile, I was wandering off down the street because I didn't know they were calling me. What happened? I asked. Eventually I figured out that Taxi was my name, but by then, I think they'd gotten bored with the whole thing. They bought roller skates and gave me to their cousin who lives in town here. Air pollution is a terrible thing, I commented. Taxi murmured as he rolled over on his back. Just then I remembered why I started this conversation in the first place. Interesting, I thought. How neatly he'd gotten me off the track. Taxi, I want to ask you something. Oh, hello, Harold. Where were you on the night of, last night? I asked forthrightly. Huh? Your whereabouts last night, Taxi? My what, Harold? Your whereabouts, Taxi. Your whereabouts. Taxi looked up at me as if his brain had just gone out to lunch. Where were you last night? Oh, why didn't you say so? He paused for a moment. Now I had him. I could feel him. In my bungalow, of course, just like everyone else. Why do you ask? Oh, he was a slippery devil, but I wasn't going to be fooled so easily. I thought how proud Chester would have been of my investigatory skills. The truth now, Taxi, I said. Tell me the truth. Okay, he said. That's better, I replied encouragingly. I was in my bungalow. You said that already. I know. Why are you telling me the same story? Because it's true. And you asked me to tell you the truth, didn't you, Harold? Yes, I did. I could feel myself beginning to falter. I'm sorry about Chester, Taxi said, then in a voice full of sympathy. Me too, I said, completing my falter. Want to play Rip the Rag, he offered. Downhearted, I began to walk away. No thanks, I called back over my shoulder. Maybe another time. Okay, Taxi called out lightly. Bye, Harold. And he returned to his tug-of-war with himself. Not feeling particularly encouraged by the results of my investigation thus far, I was almost ready to give up and go home when I saw that Howard had stopped digging and was now sitting next to Heather in front of their adjoining bungalows. As I approached, I watched their heads move up and down and couldn't help thinking how terrific they'd look on the back window ledge of an old Chevy. "Good afternoon," I said. They stopped talking immediately and stared at me, as if they'd been caught chewing on a leg of a dining room table. Neither said a word. I cleared my throat. Good afternoon," I repeated. They glanced into each other's eyes. No one spoke for what felt a very long time. In a tiny voice, Howard finally said, "Good afternoon." There was a pause. I decided to plunge in. "Where were you last night?" I asked. "Not much in the mood for conversation at the moment, Harold, old chap. Frightfully sorry. It's just that we're—" Now, Heather interjected crisply, cutting Howard off from saying another word. I had no choice but to plunge right back out again. "Well, another time, perhaps," I said. Yes, Howard said with a crooked little smile. "Another time," Heather said firmly. And then, just to make certain I got the message, she added, "Goodbye, Harold." "Goodbye," I said, walking away and muttering under my breath. "It was nice talking to you." Fortunately, I had no time to brood further over my lack of success, for I saw that Max and Georgette were coming toward me. I felt a little nervous. After all, they were prime suspects, and I didn't want to blow my examination. I considered how best to approach them. Clearly, they were too smart not to recognize a direct attack. No, with them, I reasoned, I would have to be subtle. I would work my way into it slowly, craftily, never letting them suspect what I was up to. "Beautiful day, isn't it?" I said casually as they stopped before me. "Oh, yes," Georgette replied. She smiled sweetly. "Right you are, Harold," Max added. "Well, speaking of a beautiful day, it is. Last night certainly wasn't. So where were you?" I was extremely impressed with myself. If only Chester could have been there, I thought, to see just how clever and subtle I could be when I put my mind to it. "What?" Max asked, pretending to be confused. I heard the dinner bell and saw Harrison making his rounds. Drat! What a time to be distracted by food. Just when I had them on the ropes. I'd forgotten exactly what we were talking about, but I didn't let that stand in my way. "Ain't a likely story," I snapped. Georgette looked concerned. "Harold, do you think maybe you've been in the sun too long?" she asked. An interesting ploy, I thought, trying to make me look like the suspicious one. "Harold, pal," Max said gruffly, "it's been terrific chewing the fat with you, but we've got to run. Chow time, you know what I mean?" "I do indeed," I thought. "Any excuse to get away, eh?" "Think about what I said," I told Max and Georgette as they started to go. I wasn't going to let them off the hook so easily. "You know where you can reach me if you have anything you need to get off your chest." Max gave me a puzzled look, just to keep me thinking he was innocent, no doubt. "Sure, mate," he uttered. "Anything you say." "Oh, Harold," Georgette said then, "there is something." "Yes? Aha! A confession at last." "We're sorry about Chester." "I'll bet you are," I thought. Just like you were sorry about Louise. But thanks, was all I said. "Hey, Harold, let's go," Harrison called out. "Soup's on." As long as it isn't split pea, I thought. Okay, what is it with James Howe and split pea soup in this book? After checking my dinner out for any uninvited smells or tastes, I plunged in. I was starved, which was understandable considering the amount of energy I'd used up conducting a tough and unyielding criminal investigation. The only thing that bothered me about it was that I unearthed no new evidence. What I had unearthed was doubt. Doubt in my own mind that anyone at Chateau Bow-Wow was the culprit, or indeed that a crime had taken place. Perhaps Chester had conjured the whole thing up in his twisted imagination. It was possible, after all, that Louise had run away, just as everyone had said, and it may have been just an accident that led to Chester's poisoning. Perhaps all of it, I reasoned, was the unfortunate result of Jill's carelessness. It was then that I noticed the writing on the bottom of my food dish. The letters were smudged so that it was hard to make out what it said at first. Boy, I thought, the least they could do is serve dinner in bowls you can read. I was definitely going to complain about the service. I strained my eyes and looked into the depths of my bowl. The last word was now. I had no trouble reading it because it was the only one that wasn't marked up. After a moment's consideration, I could see that the first word was hello. At the end of that word was messy, but hello it was. Of that I was certain. Because of all the black marks, the 3 words in the middle were harder to decipher. But having hung around Toby when he did crossword puzzles on the living room floor, I was pretty good at working my way around black marks. So finally, I was able to figure it out. With a great sense of accomplishment, I uttered my findings out loud. "Hello, how's your tummy now?" "Fine, thank you," I replied silently, although my eyes are a little out of focus. I went to the water dish, thinking what a cute thing it had been for a food dish to say. Too bad it had been so hard to read, though. I thought of what a time I had trying to make out the word tummy. It was almost as if someone had tried to cross it out deliberately. Suddenly my ears went up. I lifted my head from the water dish. What if, I asked myself, what if someone had tried to cross it out? Again I studied the bottom of my food dish, but this time with a new intent. How could I have missed it? This wasn't an old worn-out bowl, and these weren't random smudges. Someone was trying to tell me something. Looking at it this way, I saw a new message emerge. Hello became help. House became howls. The third word was a little bit harder to make clear, but I finally read it as out. Tummy had been smudged out entirely, and now was left as it was. Hello, how's your tummy now became help howls out now. The sky was getting cloudy. A low rumble of thunder made it clear that the day's sunshine had been only a brief respite from the storm. Help howls out now, I thought as I laid down to sleep. Help howls out now. What did it mean? What do you guys think it means? Comment down below what you think. Join me for the next chapter.